everybody. Welcome. My name is Morgan Ekovich, and I have partnered up with Nicole. I am a nutrition coach, I am a personal trainer, kind of an overall health coach. And I am super excited that Nicole and I have partnered up. And today I'm coming to you to share 10 tips for a successful summer. And after creating all these tips, I realized that we're not going to get through all of them. But if you want the full list as well as breakdown of all these tips at any point during this training, drop hashtag summer or just normal summer in the comments below. And what that's going to allow me to do is I will see that. I will then send you a message with a full PDF form of today's training so that you have all the tips needed. But a little bit of background on me, because some of you may not know who I am or what I do. But my name is Morgan Ekovich. I'm the owner of Get Fit With Me, and I've been working with Nicole and her family for really the last probably 5 to 6 months, give or take. But before that, Nicole and I met each other on a business aspect. So we've been working together, and it's been super fun to be able to teach her and her family and then now bring the tools and tricks to you on how to make sure that your kids have enough energy and get through their day without being burned out and without them consuming things that you probably don't want them consuming on a daily basis. So, a little bit of background about me. I graduated from Central Michigan University back in 2019. I've been in the fitness industry since 2015, and I love being with kids and families. I've been a nanny since 14. I've been with my current nanny family since she was 9 months old. She now turns 8 this year, so it's been a really long time, but I've had a ton of experience working with kids in all different ages as well as health and nutrition. So, getting to pair both these together to come and talk to you guys today is super exciting. So, with that, today, like I mentioned, we are going to be talking about how you can have a successful summer. And about 5 to 6 of these tips are going to be nutrition based, nutrition and hydration based, knowing that some of you today is your first day of summer camp or summer in general, or some of you guys don't actually start till next week. But knowing that, I want you to have all the tools necessary so that you can be prepared. So, I'm going to kind of touch on a few things that are kind of a basic understanding of nutrition. Once we have that basic understanding of nutrition, I'm going to start to get into some of those tips. And at any point, if you would like this full breakdown, all 10 tips written out with resource links and handouts and Amazon links to things that I'm going to reference, just drop summer in the comments below and I will make sure I get that sent to you within the next 24 or 48 hours. So, also, if you have any questions, if we have more than 5 questions asked, I'm going to do an impromptu Q&A next week to get all those questions. So, if you have them, word vomit them, put them in there. I will get all those questions answered. The more questions, the longer the Q&A will be. So, when we first start off, and like I said, we're going to talk about health and wellness, and specifically in the beginning here, we're going to talk about nutrition, but there's going to be things in health and wellness that we don't get to touch on. But right here, when we talk about nutrition, one of the things that I see specifically with Nicole's daughters, which is awesome that we've been able to kind of work through this, is her kids burn a ton of energy. And we need to make sure we are fueling them in the best way possible. And I can guarantee your kids are feeling the same way. They just feel like they're eating you out of house and home. And there's a way to make sure that you don't feel like they're eating you out of house and home. It's the way we balance our meals and we make sure that they are getting the proper nutrition that they need. And not to say they're not getting it now, but there's little small tweaks we can do. And the first thing we need to do is we need to understand the macronutrients that our bodies need, no matter how old you are, no matter who you are. And that is, macronutrients are 3 things that we need a large quantity of. So, carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And a little bit of a breakdown here. So, carbohydrates, those are going to be your grains, your fruits, your vegetables, your sugars, things that your body is going to give you energy right away, but your body is also going to process within 30 to 45 minutes. So, you're going to get that blood sugar spike, but if you don't have anything paired with it, you're going to get that crash. You're going to feel that lull, and you're probably going to want it again in 30 to 45 minutes to give you that another energy boost. Fats are super important for our brain and for allowing us to stay fuller a little bit longer. And fats can look like avocados, nuts, oils, cheeses, things like that. So if I have a carbohydrate and I have a fat, I get this blood sugar spike and I stay full a little bit longer, tack on another 45 minutes-ish to that carbohydrate time, and then we have a crash. Then we have our protein, and our protein is really the most important thing, and it's something that we tend to not get enough of. And I don't know why it is. It's I work with ladies all day long, and no matter what age you are, protein is something that we tend to suffer with. We think one egg is enough protein when in reality it's not. We need more protein. And I'm talking more to you adults right now. But the same concepts apply is we need to make sure that we also have a protein in every single meal and snack. What that does is it gives us the energy boost that the carbohydrate is going to give us. It's going to keep us energized. As soon as our body moves through that carbohydrate, it's going to then try to process that fat that we've consumed. After it's processed that fat, we're going to move into the protein, which means that we're going to slowly start to feel that energy dip, which means, oh, I feel hungry. My energy is getting low. I should probably eat something again. We eat another balanced meal. So we have these little slight dips throughout our day rather than these big drastic dips. So now that you understand a little bit about that premise of what carbs, fat, and protein do for our energy levels throughout the day, it's also really important that certain times of our day we make sure we have certain things. For instance, in the morning, we were a family that grew up on cereal and Pop Tarts and toaster strudels. Like, I don't know how I ever got through my day. No wonder I was so tired all of the time in the morning. It was hard to get through, is because by the time I would eat breakfast in the morning, I would have a blood sugar spike, and then I'd go into first hour and I'd be exhausted. So it's really important that as your kids start camp and school, whatever they're doing, that they have a really hearty, sustainable breakfast that has a carb, a fat, and a protein to give them the energy that they need to start their day and keep going. Because depending on what the camp looks like, they may have time for a snack, or that breakfast may have to last them until lunch. So thinking about that, that's the number one thing that I want you to focus on if you take anything away, is start being really aware of, are they getting all of these macronutrients in all of their main meals? If they are not, let's start adding them in. Because if they are only carbohydrate based, it's going to be really, you're going to have them eating yourself out of house and home because they are going to be hungry all day long. The other thing that happens is if you have kids that come home at the end of the night and you just can't feel like they've been good all day, you're like, you've ate so well, you've had enough, you've had all your energy, but then they have all these sugar cravings at the end of the night. That also is because our meals are not as balanced throughout the day. So it's also important for that end of the day craving hit or raiding the pantry, which my sister and I used to do. Like, I think we all did. There was a different level of nutrition back then. So just really making sure that they are getting all of these macronutrients in at every meal and snack. So now that you've got the baseline, I do dive deeper into all of this in my free Facebook group, which is for busy moms just like you guys. I do have dads in there as well, and I do have just busy women. So if you have any interest, I'm going to drop the link in the comments below. It'll also be attached to the document that I will send out if you drop the word summer. But the next thing that we need to do is, a lot of times when they're in that tween area, is what I've decided, is they start to now want to have control over what they're eating, what goes on the grocery list, what types of things they want. But I don't know about you, but with my nanny family, I sometimes see them wanting the same thing over and over again. Like, my nanny girl, she's awesome. Every day, every Monday, she comes home from school. I'm like, what would you like your snack to be? Banana, peanut butter, and oats. Like, clockwork. I shouldn't even ask her anymore because I know what it is. But it's really important that we have each of the kids do a foods I like master list. This does a few different things for them. What this is going to do is it's going to first allow them to see what carbohydrates are, what fats are, what proteins are, what vegetables, fruits, and then other food they like. Kind of where do the foods they like fall into certain categories. This is also going to give them a master variety list so that you don't keep buying bananas and then all of a sudden you buy a bunch of bananas on Sunday and by Monday they no longer like bananas. This creates a variety, not just for you as you're grocery shopping for them, but also for them to make sure that they are trying new things, that they are incorporating a good variety. Because one of the things we don't want is them to eat the same thing all the time, get burned out with it, get bored with it, say, oh, I don't like that food anymore. And then you guys are eating out and that quality of food is just not as great for them. So really making sure that they go through and sit and create this foods I like master list. It's really fun. I think everybody in the family should do it. I do it probably about once a year, sometimes more if I feel like I've done more traveling and my taste buds have changed, because our taste buds do change every 7-ish years. So it's always good to know, like, Oh, I didn't like mushrooms 6 months ago. Do I like mushrooms now? Oh, I do. I'm going to add that to the list. It's a forever growing list. You don't just sit down and do it once, keep it in a spot where it can be seen. It also makes grocery shopping much easier. That handout is inside the document. If you drop summer, it's in there. It's a PDF form for you guys to print out and use. So now kind of getting into some of those tips. You've got your baseline. The two things that you should do is have the conversation about carbs, fat, and protein, why they're important, keeping that in mind as we talk here. And then also making sure you do the foods I like master list. Those are like the number two things that if you take anything away from today, that is what I want you to take away. These tips are just bonuses to help you have a successful summer. And tip number one is how we stay hydrated. So each age of kids, including us as adults, needs different amounts of water throughout your day. And the more time we spend outdoors and the more sweating we do, the more water we need. But just for frame of reference, kids who are between the age of 9 and 13 should aim for 56 to 64 ounces of water per day. Kids between the age of 14 and 18 should aim 64 to 88 ounces per day. And then adult women, so 18 plus, we should be aiming for 90 ounces per day. Having your kids track your water is a whole different thing. But one of the things you can ask is, how many times do you fill up that water bottle I send with you? They're like, I don't fill it up at all. And you only know it's 20-ounce water bottle. We need to start putting them in a habit of drinking more. One of the things that I have found, no matter what, and this works for all ages, is find them a water bottle they love to drink out of. I have a Stanley, and I love my Stanley, but I hate that wherever I take it, it leaks and it tips and it doesn't fit what I want it to. So I found this new, simple, modern one. I've had a few of their stuff before. I've linked it in the sheet. But the best part is it's leak proof. And it's 34 ounces, which means I only have to fill this up 2 times and drink it 3 times. Like, it's so awesome. So when you're looking for a water bottle for them, try not to find something that's really small. Try to find something that's a little bit bigger, but not going to be too heavy, because I know depending on the size of your kid, a big water bottle is going to be heavy. Making sure they don't have to fill it up every couple sips. If they can get a good 20 to 30 ounces in a water bottle that doesn't overweigh them when they have to carry it around, that is ideal. So staying hydrated, number one thing this summer, making sure that you are sending them with water in a water bottle that will keep their water cold if they like cold water. Personally, I just like normal temperature, but this is insulated and will keep things cold for hours. So I'm going to jump around here. So that was tip number one. I'm going to move down to tip number 7, which is keeping your lunch cool. And the reason I'm going to do this is typically when you have lunch boxes, you want to make sure that you're packing it with ice packs and things like that. One of the things that my family, we grew up as dairy farmers. I didn't, I have horses. I had horses, but my family grew up farming and being out with the cattle and all of that. And one thing that I remember my grandpa doing, and I thought it was such an awesome idea, is every night he would freeze 5 to 6 water bottles so that he could put his lunch and the frozen water bottles in his cooler. And as he would finish a water bottle, he'd take one of them out and he'd set it in the tractor and it would slowly melt. And by the time mid-afternoon came, the last water bottle that was keeping his lunch cold started to melt on its own inside the cooler. So it's a way that if you know your kids are going to have limited access to refilling their water bottle and you don't want to give them like a gallon water bottle to take with them to refill, fill their cooler with frozen water bottles instead, so that once they've ate their lunch and everything that's cold doesn't need to be cold anymore, all that ice turns into water and they can actually use it. So that's a really great option there to make sure you're also not having to buy more ice packs, or when the jelly ones break. I always feel like those are gross and I don't like when that gets everywhere. So water bottles are a great alternative there. Any questions? I'm going to refresh the feed real quick as we've talked about tip number 1 and 7. Just want to make sure. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do one more little thing here. So with this, we're going to move on to the next thing. The next tip that I have, so we're going to come back up to the top to tip number 2, is healthy snacking. And this kind of goes with that foods I like worksheet. There's also another sheet in here. It's called Secret Sauce Sheets. And it's really quick protein ideas, breakfast combos, lunch combos, different combinations that include your carb, your fat, and your protein. So I've added that. That's actually the training Nicole and I did back in March. If you miss those sheets or you would like or you'd like access to those, feel free, drop Summer, and I'll make sure I get those to you. So, with that, healthy snacking, keeping healthy snacks readily available like fruits, vegetables, nuts, yogurt, string cheese, beef sticks, and making sure that they are at a level where the kids can quick grab them. What tends to happen is in the pantry, we buy these snacks that we probably aren't on eye level. Think about when you go to the grocery store. Things that are on eye level are prime area for people to grab and purchase. You want your pantry to look exactly the same. If you want the kids to go for a snack that's healthier, put it on eye level. If you want to keep snacks in the house such as Girl Scout cookies. I love Girl Scout cookies, but I don't keep those at eye level. I keep those above or below because it takes a little bit more work to look for them. So it's just a little way to kind of trick the mind into making sure I see what I want and I make sure that I'm actually consuming it. The other thing is fruits and vegetables, and this is something that's really great to get them involved with, is anytime a fruit or vegetable comes into your house that's going to turn into some sort of snack for them, wash, prep, and store it right away. Because if you don't, if you're like me, you will buy a bag of grapes. And if you don't wash and take them off the vine, they will sit as a bag of grapes. If you have that watermelon and you don't cut it up right away, it will probably go bad on your counter. I know mine do. So thinking about what can we wash, prep, and really put into grab and go size baggies or containers right away once it makes its way into the house. So healthy snacking, having all those available. If you know that's kind of challenging for fruits and vegetables in the summer, your time is really limited, go for a veggie tray, go for a fruit tray. Those are also awesome alternatives. Or you can buy like a lazy Susan where you like put the dip in. You guys know what I'm talking about. When you go to like a gathering, you can make your own veggie tray and fruit trays that they can just pull out and take the top off. So, tip number 3, balanced meals. I kind of already talked about this above, but I'm going to kind of reiterate some things that we want to ensure that our meal and our snacks contain protein, carbs, and fats, healthy fats. And I have my nanny kids do it. I do it for myself. I teach it. Have people do their protein first. Pick your protein first. Reason being, if I pick my carb first, this is always a great example. If I pick spaghetti noodles, the only thing that comes to my mind to make with those spaghetti noodles is spaghetti. Whereas if I pick ground beef, I have spaghetti, I have tacos, I have a burger bowl. I can come up with 4 or 5 different options based on that protein, whereas sometimes those carbohydrates limit us a little bit. So always prioritize that protein first. A really simple way to help start teaching kids is the plate method, which when you look down, thinking about half your plate should be fruits and vegetables, a quarter of your plate should be protein, also thinking about the size of a palm or a size of a deck of cards is a really good way to kind of visually measure that. And then making sure we also have whole grains. So it can be anything kind of that fall. Everybody's got their own preferences these days on whole grains, but then you can have your whole grains as well. It's a really good combo, knowing that, yeah, there's not a fat on there, but your protein contains healthy fats, most likely. And if it's chicken, you're probably using olive oil to cook it or some butter. So kind of keeping some of that in mind as we go through. And I think the thing's still working. I just got a little alert. So perfect. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for liking the video, letting me know that you are there and you can hear and see me. Perfect. So we're going to move on to tip number 4, limit sugary drinks and snacks. And this is really hard. I feel like Starbucks, Nicole and I were talking about this, Starbucks has really taken over with some of their sugary drinks. And in reality, we should only be having about 56 grams-ish of sugar per day. And that is natural sugar and artificial sugar. So that's just sugar in general. And there's sugar in everything we have, just about everything. So knowing that, we want to make sure that we are limiting those sugary drinks. When you're buying Gatorades, it's not always price efficient, but buying the little Gatorades instead of like the big giant ones, that's a way to kind of control that consumption. Same with pops. If your family does like pop, get those little mini cans. And because most likely that mini can is going to satisfy that craving or that sugar that you want, that you don't need the full can or you don't need the 2 liter. I know price does come into play there, but when you are trying to be aware of the amount of sugar, buying those smaller sizes is really important. All sugar is going to do is give them that quick burst of energy, but then they're going to crash after and they're going to start craving more of that. That's why when I talked about above, if you only have a carbohydrate, you're going to feel like your kids are eating you through house and home because they're not eating a full balanced meal. Same with comes from sugar, whether it's that sugary drink or a snack. They're going to have that high and that low, that high and that low over and over again. It's going to interrupt their sleep. It's going to interrupt their mood and their emotions. It's going to find them harder to regulate some of that. So keeping that in mind with the sugary drinks, I was just talking to Nicole about the Mio water enhancers. They're those little squirt things. I've linked it here in the document. But you essentially take normal water and you can add a small little squirt. There's zero sugar, zero calories, but they add that flavor because I know not everybody likes water. In your water, you can also add fresh lemon, fresh lime. You can do basil, strawberry, mint. Play with your flavored water combos. I like in the summer to keep a big pitcher of flavored water and pour into it. Keep in mind though, if you are using any sort of flavored in your water bottle, if it is not stainless steel or glass, the plastic will take on that flavor and it will take a while for that flavor to go away. So if you know you have a really good water bottle that you enjoy, but it's plastic, I don't recommend putting flavors in it unless you are ready to kind of taste that flavor for a long time. So with that, we're going to move on to our final tip here. And like I said, we have a ton extra here in this document. So if you want access, drop Summer below and I will send you a Facebook message with this document so you have all the links. But the last one we're going to talk about is regular meal times and routines. It can be really challenging come summer. You've got your work schedule. Each day or each week of camp looks different with timing. So the more at the start of each week you guys can sit down and plan and prep for the week and decipher when you are going to eat. And it kind of I don't know, whenever I say this, I'm always like, I don't want you to be thinking about food all the time, but I want you to have a plan because if you don't have a plan, your energy is going to crash. You're going to become hangry. You're going to become tired. You're going to become cranky, both you and your kids. And then there is a lot of emotions that happen. I have been there. I deal with hangriness on my own if I don't plan and I know when I'm going to eat. So making sure that at the start of each week you are planning and prepping not only what meals you're going to have, but when you're going to have them, especially if you have more than just you and your family and you're trying to figure out when it's all going to work. What that's going to do then is it's going to allow you to see, okay, we need to have at least one go-to meal that the kids can warm up in the microwave throughout the week. Everything else we can either do on our own or we need to make sure we've got sandwich stuff. So thinking through that is super important. And some of these things is maybe it's just having wraps and sandwich meat on hand so that they can create that as they go. Or it's having them be part of that plan and prep process. It can look a ton of different ways, but sit down as a family at the start of each week and decide what types of meals need to be had and when everybody's going to be eating based on the craziness that day. And I do have a 7-day meal prep and planning boot camp that if you would like access to, it is specifically for moms and busy women who have other people in their lives beside themselves to figure out how to plan and make everything work while keeping their family fueled and energized and not feel like they're just burning it from both ends. So if you would like that, the link is in the document so you can get more details, sign up if you want. You can start tomorrow. It's one of those where it's on your own time type of thing, but you get full support from me, which is awesome. So kind of to recap some of these things, we talked about what a carbohydrate, fat, and protein is, why we need it, ways to keep your lunch a little bit cooler, things that they should be remembering. And if you take one thing away from today, I want you to think about what are your kids eating? Are they having balanced meals at every single thing or are they not? If they aren't, pick one meal to start making balanced. For instance, breakfast. If you know there's someone who's not getting a full balanced meal at breakfast, make that your first goal. Start small, create small bite-sized pieces that you can start incorporating. And then that second thing is create your foods I like master list. If you would like me to review this, because I'm more than happy, any of these documents that I share, if you have questions, either drop them in the comments, share them in a group, send me a private message. I've attached my email also to this document, is send me a picture of your foods master list and I'll critique it. I'll give you some different ideas of, okay, this section's really small. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And a lot of times, brainstorming helps create clarity around it. And it's also a fun family activity. I would do a master family list and have each person do their own so you can see where some of the overlaps are. So with that, if you have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments. Like I said, if we have more than 3 to 5 questions, I'm going to do a Q&A answering all of them so everybody gets all the answers. Drop summer in the comments below and I will get you all 10 tips to be successful this summer when it comes to fitness, nutrition, mindset, sleep, all those areas. And I hope you have a fantastic first day of summer, or if your first day is not until Monday, happy almost summer break, and I will see you all next time. Have a great rest of your day.